This video is made for adult collectors because even though I have this entire wave of Age of the Primes sitting on my desk, well, at least the deluxes, the figures I've been messing with the most have been the Cyberworld guys. I don't know, they're just really fun. Look. I got new microphones. We're gonna try this, see how this works. Hopefully this works well. Who knows? Also, I found this idiot. This feels a lot like an old Thrilling 30 toy to me, and not in a bad way, cause like Thrilling 30 had some not so nice plastic and some strange engineering choices, but this, I don't know, the character selection itself, the way it transforms and how it looks in both modes feels like something from that era. Sureshot was a character I was on when the leaks came out, but once we saw it revealed for the first time, I had a feeling he would be one of those glub shittos that's just super interesting for no reason. And yeah, that is exactly the case here. This was purchased at CMD store. Here's the box, not sponsored. There is hardly any paint on here, is what you would think by looking at it, but no, that is really wrong. The arms and the crotch are entirely painted yellow, and it's not a case of the yellow plastic that they use on this guy being palm so they can't paint it, because the chest is painted. I don't know why they made them on the orange sprue. It's probably something to do with the allocation that I don't understand, but yes, they are painted. I think the red is all palm because it feels very different from the rest of the toy. Not bad, just different. Materials aside though, I think this looks great. It really captures the proportions of that old G1 toy that I used to have actually, but I don't anymore, which kind of sucks. I do like all the details on display, especially in the legs with how they just jut out at the front here and how the wheels wrap around the legs. He's pretty clean too, nothing horrible hanging off the back, but these wheels do kind of get in the way of the arm articulation. It's easy to work around, it's just a teeny bit annoying. Head sculpt is just clean. There is like no other way for me to describe this other than that is one of the cleanest head sculpts I've seen recently. He's just a chill guy with some shades on. These arm fin things are on 5mm pegs, so you can take them off if you don't like them, but the pegs are shallow. That's just due to the space here and under the arm where the hinges are and stuff. There's no room for the 5mm peg to be really deep. So that does mean that every once in a while they fall out. It doesn't happen a lot, but enough to make note of. He comes with his Target Master, Spoil Sport, who is a static brick pretty much, but he looks neat. I liked how the eyes are painted, and he is your standard deluxe size, but he really fits with some of those older Thrilling 30 toys. Like, something about the glub shitto aesthetic, the hybridization of the brick-y design mixed with what feels like IDW, even though I know this isn't. It's really hard to describe, but like you see these two together, they fit. It's weird. His articulation is pretty standard, though there are a couple of sculpt gets in the way moments that are a teeny bit annoying. Sureshot's articulation is pretty good if he is missing wrist swivels, but like there's something with the thighs and then with the shoulders that's a little bit strange. So to start with, the head is on an out of focus ball joint, so he can look left and right. There isn't that much of a tilt. However, whoa, he can look all the way up, which is awesome. However, because of how the neck is sculpted, he can look all the way up when his head is sticking out forward, but if you turn the head, you can only look up about that far, just because it's on like a little square underneath there. I kind of wish that square wasn't there because then you could look up in every direction. But like you go to rotate the head, that's not going to move anymore. Now it'll move, but like up here, no, it just gets stuck in that square. These shoulders, they can go out about that far, not a full 90, like just barely under a full 90. However, you can use this transformation hinge to get them to go all the way up if that's something that you want. And then because of transformation, if you unpeg this, he has backwards butterfly joints, which is actually quite useful. I really like that. These shoulders can also do a full 360, and there goes that panel. It's now on the floor. But yes, they don't, because the pegs are, like I said, they're so shallow, literally because there's a joint in the way. And so they don't stay very well. They're kind of annoying. And then in transformation, they're the only thing that's annoying. They don't fall off in transformation, but just where they go just makes them weird. Then you have bicep rotation and a single jointed elbow that bends just a little bit over 90 degrees. And then there's no wrist joint. There's space for one in here, but there isn't one, and that's a little bit annoying. He does have a waist joint. The hips, they can go forward that far. They can go back that far. They can do a full split. He does have thigh rotation, but it's inside the thigh. So all this sculpt gets in the way, so you only get that far out and pretty much nothing in. Then when you go up and over, like now you're getting even less this way, and it's a little bit unfortunate. I kind of wish there was just a straight up cut through here. I would have been okay with that to allow for more thigh rotation because that's all you get. He does have 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and then the ankles can go down. They can go up all the way, which is awesome. And then you have ankle tilt. So yeah, I like everything about it except the lack of wrists. The wheel just fell off. That's never happened before. What the hell? The lack of wrists
twists, the thigh rotation, and these little fin pieces are rather annoying. Everything else I think is awesome. I love this. I'm okay with it not being able to look up all the way in other directions. I think that's far enough, but like, that's just funny. He can literally squirrel, he can look all the way up, which is great.
Nitpicks aside, I think this robot is still a lot of fun. I'm surprised he got a new mold and that it's this nice to mess with, seeing as the last Autobot Target Master we got, what was his name? I'm forgetting his name. How am I forgetting his name? What the hell? You know the one with the no bicep swivels. He wasn't the greatest. The transformation is another thing that makes this feel very Thrilling 30 to me, but again, in a good way.
The transformation, it requires a little bit of explaining as to why I'm thinking real Thrilling 30 on this, and that makes me bring in Scoop. So, Thrilling 30, I mean, plastic quality and articulation weren't the greatest, and build quality wasn't exactly the greatest. Like, this scoop is splitting, and the previous scoop I had, the pipe in the middle here was bent. Like, it was a whole thing. Their transformations were rather interesting and did a lot of stuff outside of what we would normally get from Transformers at the time. Like, how this whole thing comes over here and how this chest piece opens and these rotate down to form the arms and then that goes back. That's really, really unique for something like this. And I don't think I've ever seen a Transformer that turns into this vehicle do this type of transformation before. And this has the elements of that in here. Not elements of exactly what this does, but elements in like, you would not expect a dune buggy to transform this way. And yet it does. And I really like that. That's what makes me gravitate towards this a lot more than something like Quintus, because the transformation is extremely interesting to do back and forth. So to start with, we're actually going to take the Target Master and fold him in half, and then now he's a gun. Then we'll take the figure, we're going to fold up the feet, they will peg into the front of the shins, and then we're going to peg the legs together. Take the wheels, open them up all the way, and then rotate them back here. They will sit flat. They sort of like very soft throop into place, and then we're just going to leave the legs there for now. You want to take this back section here, you want to unpeg it, and then you want to take the arms, we're going to unpeg them here, and unpeg, well, that one's already coming undone, and just leave them there like that for now. Then you want to open the torso up, and this is where it gets interesting. Look at this hinge assembly in here. It's kind of nuts. So you want to straighten this out so it's like this, and then rotate this around like that. Then you want to flatten it down. So you want to, there's a tiny little orange hinge in there that needs to accordion in, but all of this needs to stay flat. So I find it easy to just grab it right here and then put your thumb here and then push. And now it sits flat and it's evened itself out. That's really, really cool, the way that this entire like mechanism works. It's super smooth once you figure it out. The instructions are not the greatest, but like once you get there, it's pretty cool. Then you take the head, we're just gonna bend it in for now. Rotate the arms down, and this is where the shoulder pads become a bit weird. You have to make sure that they are fully pressed in, otherwise they will collide with each other and then fall out. So you get that sorted, and then you bring these up, and the shoulders will peg in to the torso. It's sort of like a soft peg. Then you want to rotate the arms 90 degrees so that they are facing down. Take torso, rotate it 180 degrees. Then you want to combiner wars the legs into place. They clip in, and then they clip in down here. Bring this section up, and it will peg in at the front there. And then you want to make sure the head is straight, and then you can get all that lined up like so. Then you want to take the arms, bring them down. They will peg into the back of the feet, and that will hold everything together. And then for extra stability, you plug the wheels back in here. Now nothing's going to come apart, which is awesome. Then you take this bit, you flip it around, and it will tab into the front. And there you have Sureshot in his alt mode. That's super fun to do back and forth. I love it. Again, it's so unique. It reminds me of stuff like this, or hell, even something like this. This is kind of unique too in the way that its legs and headmaster thing work. Like it experiments, and I think the experiment works here. On Point Blank, the experiment didn't work, but on here it does, and it's very nice.
Literally the only thing I don't like is those back fins. Everything else is super fun, and this alt mode is pretty swish. It's a wee bit gappy, and while that doesn't bug me at all, I know it will bug some people, so it is worth pointing out. I do like, though, how the whole thing slopes forward a little bit and how it looks mean in the front. Funny enough, this is the only figure from both Studio Series and Age of the Primes 2026 Wave 1 that I've gotten that has clipped wheels. He still rolls fine, it's funny, he's got clipped wheels. Target Master can just kind of sit at the top here and not do much else, but again, this looks to me like an alt mode we'd get from Thrilling 30 because it stands out among some of the other alt modes we've gotten in modern day. He's just a fun and super nifty toy of a character I don't really care about, but I am glad I have it because it's very fun. I definitely recommend this if you want a fun and involved car former. It's a nice overall experience. I might just glue those fins in place though, because they are kind of annoying. But that's my look at Rise of the Beasts. What? Age of the Primes Sureshot. There we go. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I looked at my Rise of the Beast Optimus on my desk and confused myself.